Hello everyone, welcome to Apex Hours. My name is Shaktivel Madhes and today topics for the local development for Lightning Web Component. Big thanks to Amit and Apex Hours teams to inviting me. About Apex Hours, it's a simple and easy way to learn everything about Salesforce from beginners level topics to advanced level topics. A little bit about myself. I am currently working as a senior Salesforce developer in Tech4 Services, Sydney, Australia. And I am a Salesforce MVP, Lightning Champion, and 16x Salesforce certified, and 6x Target Ranger. I am a blogger and YouTuber. Today's session agenda about local development for Lightning Web Component. Here I am demonstrate about the prerequisites and setup and preview the Lightning Web Component to local browser without pushing to the Salesforce arc. Prerequisites and setup for the local development with LWC. We need the Salesforce edition. We can use the developer editions, sandbox, scratch arc from the production arc. Even we can use the Trailhead playground. In this session, I am using the developer edition. To creating a Lightning Web Component, we need a third-party IDE. I'm using the VS Code editor to creating a Lightning Web Component with the help of Salesforce CLI and Salesforce extension pack in VS Code. To build the Lightning Web Component and preview the changes without pushing the components to the Salesforce arc, we need the local development server. The local development server is a Salesforce CLI plugins that configures and runs a Lightning Web Components and enabled the LWC dev server on your local computer. So using that, we can develop the Lightning Web Components and preview the live changes without pushing the LWC component to on Salesforce arc. It's a fast way to develop the Salesforce application. LWC dev server, it's a default not included in the Salesforce CLI. It's a beta version for the local development. To get that, we need to install that SFDX plugins using SFDX plugins :install @salesforce/LWC dev server. In this demo, I'm showing all of them. Also, I will show you the demo to preview the Hello World LWC component into local browser and to accessing the Salesforce real-time data using the Lightning data services and UI API and Apex classes from the local browser. Also, I'm covering to show the static resources into local browser and accessing the custom labels into the local browser. To get free Salesforce Developer Edition, go to the developer.salesforce.com/signup. Fill the form to get your free Salesforce Developer Editions. Once you created the Developer Edition, under the setup, go to the My Domain, enable your domain in order to creating the Lightning component using the Aura component or Lightning Web component. To download the Visual Studio Code, go to the code.visualstudio.com/download. Download the exe file for the Visual Studio Code as per your operating system and install that exe file. To get the Salesforce CLI, go to the developer.salesforce.com/tools/sfdx-cli. Download the exe file as per your operating system and install the exe file for the Salesforce CLI. Once you install that Visual Studio Code and Salesforce CLI, then go to the Visual Studio Code, navigate that extension, search the Salesforce extension pack, click the Salesforce extension pack. This one's provided by the Salesforce. It's contain 8 extensions altogether, like Apex Interactive Debugger, Replay Debugger, Aura Components, CLI Integration, Visual Post Page, Lightning Web Component, and even Salesforce introduced SLDS validator recently. These all are provided by Salesforce. If you navigate Apex, so using that Apex extension, we can create and editing the Apex programming language, similar way Lightning Web Components to create or editing the features for the Lightning Web Components. So go to the Salesforce extension pack and install from Visual Studio Code to create a Lightning Web Component. So now we installed the Visual Studio Code and Salesforce CLI and Salesforce extension pack from Visual Studio Code. Now we good to create a Salesforce project from Visual Studio Code. To create a Salesforce project, go to the command palette, click the view and select the command palette, or use the key shortcut called Ctrl+Shift+P from Windows machine. Then type sfdx :create. You notice there are two ways we can create a project, either the sfdx create project and create project with manifest. Create a project with manifest. It's an arc development model that allows you work with arcs that don't have source tracking, such as sandbox, developer editions arc, or trailhead playground, or even a production arc to retrieve and deploy the code directly. Using that SFDA create project, that is a package development model. Packages are typically developed against source tracking arcs, such as Scratch arc. This development model used to arc source tracking, source control, and CI/CD, that is a continuous integration and deployment model. In this session, I'm going to create a project using SFDX create project. It's prompt to select the project template. I'm using the default. Enter the project name. It's asking to select the folder. I'm choosing the desktop and creating the new folder. From here, I'm creating the project. The sfdx :create project executed, and then folder structure appear in the Explorer. Under the Forza folder, we will get that all the Salesforce meta component type like application, Aura component, Apex classes, LWC triggers. If you click the LWC, currently there is no component since we are not authorized that arc. So the next step, we need to authorize that arc. So for that, go to the command palette and type sfdx :authorize an arc. It's prompting to select either the production or sandbox. If you are using the developer editions or trailhead playground or production, go to choose the production, that is a login.salesforce.com. If you are using the sandbox, then go with the dist.salesforce.com. This session I'm using the developer edition, so I'm going with the production, that is a login.salesforce.com. Here I am specifying that arc alias, the sfdx :authorize on arc command executing. It's prompt to enter the username and password. Provide the username and password, click the login. Once the login is get success, you will get the notification from Visual Studio Code, that is authorize and arc successfully run. From output panel also, you will receive the successful authorized message. Now we created the project and authorized the Salesforce account. Now let's try to retrieve the components. Currently there is no component in the folder. I already have some few components. Let's try to retrieve using the Arc browser. If you notice the cloudy icon, click that Arc browser. Here it's list out all the Salesforce meta component list. Let's navigate to the Lightning Web Components. From using that cloudy icon, we can retrieve entire Lightning Web Components or individual component as well. Let me try to retrieve entire Lightning Web Components from my Salesforce account to the local project directory. The command executing sfdx :retrieve source from arc. It's getting retrieving from all my Lightning Web Component. From output panel, if you notice, the components get retrieved successfully. If you see here in the output section, all the Lightning Web Components retrieved from my Salesforce account too. local folder. This is the equivalent command for retrieving the command for the Lightning component bundle. So Lightning component bundle is nothing but it's a Lightning web component. If you go to the Explorer, under the LWC folder, we will get all the components. Now let's build the Lightning web component and preview the changes in local browser. For that, go to the command palette using Ctrl+Shift+P and simply type local development. If you notice, we will get the three sfdx command like sfdx colon open local development server, start local development server, and stop local development server. For sfdx colon open local development server, if the local development server is not currently running, this command start the server and open the localhost colon 333 in your browser. Let's try to open the local development server. The command executing the start local development server. If you see, the command failed. Here is the details. To run this command, install the @salesforce/lwc dev server plugins from sfdx. To install the lwc dev server, go to the terminal, type sfdx plugins. If you noticed, here currently I don't have any plugins, so that's the reason I received that error when executing open local development server. Let's go to install the plugins. To install the plugins, if you need any help, simply type sfdx plugins help. Here it's provided all the commands plugins colon generate. Using that we can create our own sfdx CLI plugins. To install the plugins, type sfdx plugins colon install followed by @salesforce/lwc/dev/server. These features works in Salesforce Developer Arc, Trailhead Playground, and Sandbox, and Production Arc or Scratcher, with most recent stable version of the Chrome, Firefox, Safari, and Edge web browsers. So using these features, now there is no need to deploy to an arc to preview your component. The server will also take care to show if any errors during development. And the best part is that we can use the Salesforce real-time data from Salesforce Arc to test the Lightning Web Component in local browser. As a developer, we used to spend a lot of time pushing the components to an Salesforce Arc, testing them, if finding any issues, then correcting the code and pushing it one more time, testing again, and so on. So this feature saves a lot of time and fast way to build the Salesforce application development. So now the plugins gets installed, version 2.5.1. Now let's go to the demo on Hello World component and let's try to preview the component. To previewing the component, go to right click and select sfdx colon preview component locally, or from edit it directly from the file, go to sfdx colon preview component locally. After you select that sfdx colon preview component locally, from the command palette, display a list of preview options such as a preview from desktop browser or in a virtual mobile device such as iOS or Android. For previewing your component changes in mobile, then need some additional setup to see the results in mobile view. Now let's try to preview the Lightning Web Component from local browser. I have the demo one hello world component. From the HTML from the file editor, right click and select the SFDX preview component locally, or from the individual file, either the HTML or CSS or JS file, right click and select SFDX preview component locally. After you select that SFDX preview component locally, from the command palette displays a list of preview options such as preview from desktop browser or in virtual mobile devices for iOS or Android. For previewing your component changes in mobile, then need some additional setup to see the results in mobile view. In this session, I'm using the desktop browser, the SFDX start local development server. It's running. Once the command is executed, you will get that localhost 333 portal, and it's directly open from the browser window. So this is the result about that Lightning Web component. From browser, you can directly view the VS Code while clicking View in VS Code button. It's straight away open the VS Code for the relevant component. Or from the home, localhost 3333, here list out all the Lightning Web component. This local development, it's work only for the Lightning Web component, not for the Aura or VF pages. Here it's list out all the Lightning Web component as per the project directory from the Lightning Web component. You can search the component using the search bar and click that component, and it's getting the results here. Now let's create a Lightning Web component and preview the changes from the local browser without deploying to the Salesforce org. To creating a Lightning Web component, go to the command palette or use the key shortcut Ctrl+Shift+P and type sfdx create Lightning Web component and enter the file name. Select the folder directory for the default LWC. The folders gets created. It's a default 3 files. One is a HTML, markup file, and JavaScript controller and configuration file, that is a meta.xml. From the markup file for the HTML, let's add the welcome static text. Let's save and right click and select the preview SFDX preview component locally. Select the desktop browser. From your browser, it's automatically open for the Hello World LWC dev and the results gets up here. Let's try to add the lightning card. We'll read from the lightning input and add the value after the welcome. For that, I'm adding the lightning input field. Here I am adding 2 times I. Let me try to refresh. The page gets refreshing automatically. We will get that error as well from the local browser itself. So we can easy way to fix that error and view the results without deploying to the server. Let me add the label from onChange event. Let's call the function let's read the value from the lightning input and print after the welcome using the printing properties. From the JavaScript file, let's read the value from the onChange handler. Let's assign that value from the greetings property, event target value. Let's try to assign the default some value in the greetings property. Let's try to save. The page gets automatically refreshing from the local browser. It's a default welcome Apex covers. Let's try to change. It's automatically binding from the Lightning input. So this is the easy way to build the logic and preview the changes from the local browser without deploying to the Salesforce org. Now we created the Hello World Lightning Web Component and preview the changes from the local browser. Let's see the Salesforce real-time data access into the local browser using the Lightning design system and UI API and Apex class. Now let's try to create a record using the Lightning record edit form from the local browser to the Salesforce account. For that, I have the demo 21 create record. I'm using the Lightning record edit form, and here I'm passing the account object and the field for the name field and website field. From the JavaScript controller, I imported the schema for the Salesforce module to get the object API name and then account name fields. Let's try to preview from the local browser and create a record. I'm selecting SFDX preview component locally and selecting the desktop browser. It's prompting to enter the account name and website. Let me enter the account name and here entering the website. Before entering, from the JavaScript, from the handle account created, so from the on success of the Lightning record edit form, I called the handle account created. Here I added the logs. Once the account is created, I get that account ID and assigning back to that account ID property, and here I printed. Let me show you here. Let me go to the inspect from the console. Now let's initiate that create account button. So accounts created and automatically the account ID populated, and this is the relevant console log. Let's try to copy the account ID and place it in the Salesforce org. So this is the way we can to create the record, and even we can access the Salesforce data, the real-time data to the local browser. Let me show you the other example to creating a record using the UI record API. So from the JavaScript controller of the Lightning Web Component, I'm importing the create record from the Lightning UI record API module and imported the schema of the account object and account name. From the HTML, I have the Lightning input for the label of the name, and from the Lightning button, I call the create account button. From this create account method, I created the record while passing the record input, the API name of the object, API name, and then fields for the name field. Let's try to preview this change. Demo 21 create record JavaScript API. From the browser, let's go to the home. From the search for a component, let me type demo 21 and I'm selecting the demo 21 create record -JavaScript API. Let me enter the name. create account, and accounts gets created and automatically populated in the ID field. So from the account ID property, once the account gets created, we are get assigning back to in the account ID. So this is the way we can create a record from the local browser using the Lightning UI record API. Let me show you the other example to get the data from wire Apex method. Emo24 wire Apex method. So here I'm using the Apex class to get the list. Let's go to the Apex class. Currently I'm not retrieved. Let's go to retrieve from the R browser for my Apex class called account controller. To retrieve the Apex class, go to the Apex class from the R browser. And retrieve the account controller. The SFDX colon retrieve source from arc gets executing. Once executed, I get that Apex class from my class folder. Let me try to open that Apex class. I imported that Apex class method called get account list. So this is the method I added RI enabled catchable true to use the Lightning Web Component. Here I return the 10 account records with the ID and the name field. I use that @wire and get account list, and I'm adding that wired accounts method. From here I'm get that values in the data. Here I iterated and added in the checkbox field in the label and then value. The label as account name and value as the account ID. From my HTML, I use the Lightning combo box. Here added the options and value. So option is we are getting the label and value. Whenever we are selecting from the combo box, from the unhandler change, handle change, I get that the selected account ID, this dot value. So whenever the account is selected, and I call that wire method called get related contact from the account controller. Here I am passing the account ID, get related contact. I'm passing the account ID and then get the related contacts. Let's try to preview the changes from the local. So from the combo box, I'm selecting the account ID and automatically appear the contacts as per the account selection. Let's try to create one of the contact from account. I'm in the Tech for Services account. Let's try to create a new contact. Currently, 2 contacts in this account. Let's create one more. Let's save. Now let's try to select the Tech for Services Private Limited. If you noticed, all 3 contacts displayed. So this is the way we can easily to get the real-time Salesforce data from the local browser. Now we previewed the Salesforce real-time data access into the local browser using LDS, UI API, and Apex class. Let's preview the static resources and custom labels. Let's try to access the Salesforce static resources from the local browser. I have the Lightning component called static resources. From the JS file, I imported to accessing the static resources for the Salesforce resource URL module, and to loading the script and styles I imported from the platform resource loader module, and then I assigned that as a property for the images and styles. Same has been used in the HTML. Let's try to preview from the local browser. If you see the static resources not appear from my local project directory, I don't have the static resources. Let's try to retrieve from the R browser under the static resources, retrieving the static resources which using in the JS file for the LWC resources and LWC. Once the static resources retrieved, let's try to refresh. If you see again the change is not available, let's go to your Visual Studio Code and go to the command palette and type local development, stop the local development server and restart the server to appear the changes. If you see the static resource, the images and styles gets appear. Similar way, we can access the custom labels to local browser. I have the component to accessing the custom label. From the JS file, I imported the custom labels from the Salesforce label module. Welcome LWC title and welcome LWC messages. It's the API name of the custom label. I imported and added in the label array, and I'm using that label dot welcome LWC messages and title in the HTML. Let's go to preview the component. Again, the labels not available in my local. Let's go to retrieve again for the custom labels. Under the custom label section, the subjects retrieve source from org command is executing to retrieve the custom labels from the Salesforce org. Once retrieved, again, let's try to refresh. The change is not reflected. Then we need to restart the local development server again. Let me try to start again. Meantime, if you see here the labels downloaded, the welcome LWC message and welcome LWC title, the server started. Let's go to preview. If you see that custom label values reflected here, the title and messages. Even we can modify the title and messages. Let's try to change the title. Let me save that label. If you see, it's refreshing. And it's reflected. Welcome to Apex Cover LWC local development. So this is the way we can easily to get the Salesforce data to the local browser. Using this, when we develop the Lightning Web Components, we can see live changes as soon as save the code in your local environment. These features almost supported with many modules and lightning-based components, and also we can refer the supported and unsupported modules, lightning-based components and features from Salesforce documents. So these are the components and modules supported for the local development, and some of them partially supported modules and unsupported modules for the Apex continuation, navigation, EMP API, and message service and platform source event, and unsupported base component for Lightning file upload and Lightning formatted address and Lightning map, and unsupported features for Lightning pages, locker services, and Salesforce standard design tokens and custom tokens in CSS files. If any feedback or any issues encountered during your LWC local development, this repository is used to collect feedback and issues for the LWC local development while it is in beta. Salesforce development team will try to resolve as per their priority, and you will get the notification. Go to the issues, and these are the open issues. If you provide any feedback or any issues, click the new issue and raise that request. As a summary, in this session, I covered the local development for LWC, prerequisites and setup, and preview the LWC component results from the local browser, and accessing the real-time data and static resources and custom labels from the local browser. These are the resources I used in this session. You can follow me in LinkedIn and Twitter and Trailblazer and even my blog and YouTube. Thank you so much, Amit and Apex Covers, for giving me the opportunity to present about the local development for the Lightning Web Component, to sharing my knowledge with my Salesforce family. Thank you, everyone. Please stay safe and healthy. Thanks again.